In 1919, a wall of molasses 25 feet tall exploded through a city street at 35 miles an hour, faster than people could run. It killed 21 people. Here's the real chain. During World War I, molasses wasn't just food. It was fermented into industrial alcohol, a key ingredient in explosives, and demand had gone through the roof. To cash in, a company called Purity Distilling rushed to build a massive steel storage tank in Boston's North End, 50 feet tall, holding over 2 million gallons. It was built fast and cheap. The steel was too thin, the rivets inadequate, and nobody with real engineering credentials signed off on the final design. The tank leaked almost immediately after it was filled. The company's solution wasn't to fix it. They painted the tank brown so the leaking molasses wouldn't show. Local kids in the neighborhood used to scrape the leaking molasses off the outside with buckets and spoons, treating a structural failure like free candy. Workers at the site had reported hearing the tank groan and rumble for years. Those warnings were ignored completely. On January 15, 1919, the temperature swung unusually warm after a hard freeze, putting massive stress on the already overloaded steel. Just after noon, witnesses heard a deep rumbling boom, then a sound like machine gun fire as rivets tore loose and shot through the air. The tank's walls ripped open completely. Over 2 million gallons of molasses exploded outward in a wave 25 feet high. That wave moved at an estimated 35 miles an hour, faster than any person on foot could possibly outrun it. It crushed buildings, knocked a firehouse off its foundation, and ripped a section of elevated train track apart. 21 people died and about 150 more were injured, many of them trapped in molasses thick enough to hold a person in place. Rescue was a nightmare. Molasses is dense and sticky, and as it cooled in the January air, it hardened, trapping victims where they fell. Cleanup took weeks. Crews used salt water from the harbor to try to break down the molasses, and locals said Boston Harbor stayed faintly brown for months. Survivors and victims' families filed one of the largest class action lawsuits in Massachusetts history at that point. Over 100 plaintiffs combined into a single case. The company first tried blaming anarchist bombers for the disaster, a real fear at the time given the era's political violence. But investigators and engineers hired for the case proved something far simpler and far more damning. The tank had never been properly designed, tested, or inspected in the first place. After years of litigation, the courts ruled against the company, forcing a settlement and cementing on the record exactly how the disaster happened. The case became a landmark, cited directly by lawmakers pushing for something that barely existed yet in America: mandatory licensing for engineers. Massachusetts and other states began requiring that structural plans for large tanks and buildings be reviewed and stamped by a licensed professional engineer before construction could begin. That stamp, the official seal proving a licensed engineer has verified a structure's safety, exists in its modern form largely because of this exact disaster. Modern codes for tanks and pressure vessels now require calculated stress margins, verified material testing, and formal inspection before anything gets filled. Every skyscraper, bridge, and industrial tank built today that requires a licensed engineer's signature carries a lineage back to a Tuesday afternoon in Boston. A company that painted over a warning instead of fixing it ended up rewriting the rules for how every large structure in America gets approved. Follow Forgotten Record for more real chains history.